Thanks for tuning in to another Friday college basketball report. March Madness Prophecies means we're finally into March Madness. So, yeah, we're all excited about this. We only have a few more regular season games to go, and then that's it. Everybody is playing their final, or anybody who hasn't already played their final regular season game yet is either about to or they're already getting ready for conference play. So nobody has more than one more game left in the regular season, and we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about what we want to do here to get things started, and that is we want to take a look at conference tournaments. Why don't we? And that's where our futures are going to be right now this week. So we're going to be talking about, on one side, those are going to be our five best favorite picks. Picks that, the favorites for a reason. They deserve to be favorites. And if you want to go down that road, I think it's a fair enough number. Like, for instance, I think we all believe Duke is going to win the ACC title, but I'm not willing to bet minus 250 on it. It's not the NCAA tournament. I have no idea what could happen in a championship game situation or a semifinal game where another team has got everything on the line and Duke doesn't, and whatever. I'm not saying that Duke isn't going to win it. I'm sure they are, just like Michigan I have there. But Michigan doesn't have minus 250. Duke does. So there you go. I will say this. I never advise minus 250. But anytime anybody would ask me, what do you think about 250? I think I want to do it. Well, I would think about it. And sometimes I would say, absolutely not. No way. Pitfalls here, pitfalls there. But yeah, the way Duke's playing, they're probably going to, it would be a big surprise if they didn't win the ACC tournament. So that would be one where I would say, if you want to put it up, go ahead and do it. Because see them not winning, it's not a strong conference. It hasn't been. It's better this season, okay? But there is still, I think, where the ACC has gotten this season has been from the mid pack, the bubble teams. But the top has not gotten better. It's just everybody was expecting Louisville. Virginia was supposed to be like their biggest rival to the crown, and look what happened last week. So yeah, Duke's going to win the ACC conference tournament. We get that. All right. So anyway, St. Louis and South Florida. Those are two really strong bubble teams from their respective conferences, the Atlantic 10 and the AAC. And I believe both teams, I feel strongly that both teams will find a way to get in. Look, St. Louis might even be able to get in without winning it. I don't see South Florida in that situation. But I do think St. Louis has a shot to get in because their record is just really strong, and that does mean something. But we'll see. They've lost a couple of games lately, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. I still, again, think they're the class of the conference, and they know all doubt is lost with just winning your conference championship. So I feel strongly about that. Same thing with South Florida. Yale is definitely the best team in the Ivy. We've talked about that for the past couple of months. And Miami of Ohio, believe it or not, they are the second choice to win the MAC. Second choice. Now, the only thing you need to keep an eye on with Miami of Ohio is more and more people, because Miami won their games this week, even though they won by 4 points, I think, combined 2 points each. The thing you got to keep in mind, the fact that more and more people seem to be believing that Miami now is in, no matter what they do now. So they got this game against Ohio, I believe, tonight. Yes, 9:00 tonight. They have not won in Ohio in a long time. But they've beaten them 2 of the last 3, including earlier this year. They beat them by 16. That was just a few weeks ago as a 7-point home favorite. And, of course, Ohio would like nothing better, just like all these other MAC teams, to be the first team to knock them off. So I think as long as Miami just gets by that game, this is it. To me, this is it. Now, I still think they should be in no matter what. And again, a lot of other people feel the same way. But there are some people who think that maybe not, and you don't want to go in with a 2-game losing streak, lose to Ohio, lose in the tournament, and now you're in a little bit of bubble land you don't want to be in. So I preface that because Akron being the favorite to win the MAC tournament, because look, Akron's not getting in without winning the conference championship. So let's just say it's Miami of Ohio and Akron in the conference championship, and there's some doubt that Miami will, for whatever reason, there's doubt that Miami can get in without a win. Well, you know what? I feel better about 2-1. I don't feel better if, hey, oh, look, everybody's telling us we're in, we're easily in, we don't have to win this game. We're still going to try to win it. Don't get me wrong. We're still going to fight hard. We want an unblemished record to be a special thing, but Akron definitely would need to gain more. And you know what? To me, maybe that really matters like this much. Very, very little, but it still, I think, could matter, which is why I have Miami of Ohio at 2-1. I just think that you're getting a team that has had such a special season that I do think that is going to matter come conference tournament time, especially if they go in undefeated. They have every potential pitfall. They have passed every test, and I think you got to give the benefit of the doubt. They're not giving up any points. You're just taking 2-1 to win the tournament. Okay. The long shots on the other side. We've got 2 from the Mountain West. I've said this for weeks now. The Mountain West is wide open. There are some people who believe Utah State is in. Same reason why, say, St. Louis would be in. They're just too strong of a record. Same thing for Miami. You can say what you want about non-conference and all that stuff, but the fact of the matter is you're in a pretty good conference and you've got that sort of record. You deserve to be in. And maybe that's the case. And I believe that should be as well. I don't know if they can get 3 teams. I really don't. I hope so, because teams like Colorado State and Boise State are playing their best basketball of the year. And we all remember what Colorado State did last year, the run they made with head coach Nico Nedved, and they would win. They win a tournament game. Their second game was down to the wire. They were a great story. It was one of our darling tournament teams last year. Mountain West, NCAA. So all of that was great. And nothing was happening for them this year until lately. And now they put this run together. And Boise has done the same thing. We've criticized Boise early on in the process. When we first started doing this a couple of months ago, disappointing, off to a bad start. They've got pretty much little no chance right now, the way things are going. There's too many teams ahead of them. And now all of a sudden, they're playing, not only are they playing their best basketball, but the other teams, Utah State, New Mexico, San Diego State, they're struggling. So it's going to be real interesting to find out, could they get 3? Could they get 3? I mean, what happens if Colorado State and Boise play in the championship game and Utah State's in? And these 2 teams remain hot all the way through. Obviously, the thing is they got to play each other tomorrow. That's the only bummer. But I think there's a chance but the reason I think that it is unlikely is because we saw this last year. Boise was in the same position and it didn't work out, and there were more teams. So I really think that whoever wins the game on Saturday between Boise and Colorado State is still going to have a shot if they lose the championship game, because it's their last regular season game. And so they'll have, 2-3 more wins to their ledger. They're all in the 20s by then, 22 wins maybe by then. Maybe they'll get a chance. George Mason, I've talked about them early on a few months ago as one of my early picks. I got them as a long shot to win the regular season title, and St. Louis is just too good. And so I knew that was out. But they started to play and have really played good ball all year until the last several weeks. They've kind of, they've lost like 5 out of 6, something like that. But they played really tough at VCU a couple days ago. And now they've got St. Louis at home. And we're going to get into them in a minute too with that game. But I think I've said it all year. I think they're the third best. There's only 3 teams that can win the A10, and that is St. Louis, VCU, or George Mason. Let's get to the picks. Okay. So let's go through it. And you know what? Just here's a good way to start off, because we've talked so much about how Cinderella is in big trouble. We didn't have Cinderella last year. We're real concerned with Cinderella this year, and so we are wondering, is this going to be the end of Cinderella? Well, one of the things we do know, and that is the last, 15 to 20 teams, at-large teams that get in, they're just not very good. They're just completely mediocre at best, meaning that if they have to play a really good team at some point in the tournament, they're going to get murdered. And then what it also means is sort of like what we just saw earlier today. One of the better, it's not a strong mid-major conference, but it's still, most people, including myself, thought, actually, I shouldn't say that. It is a strong mid-major, the Missouri Valley. And because, again, it depends on where you can. I'm not going to compare it to the A10 or the AAC, but it's sort of like right below. And they got blown out by Drake, the defending champs, who are not new coach. It's not last year's Drake. Okay, Drake didn't have a great season. It's just an okay season. Drake won, 30 games last year? That's not last year's team. And they were a 12-point favorite, and they lost, and they got blown out. So that right there is a message, a little early message, that you've got the best team all season long in a good mid-major conference that gets blown out in the quarterfinal game, semifinal? I think it was quarterfinal game. I mean, so that's just that's a sign right there that even the good teams all year in the mid majors, the best teams, they were even money picked to win the conference tournament. When they get to the big dance, they're going to get blown out. So, and that's just like last year. Drake won a game last year. So it's unfortunate. But some people like it because they look at it as, hey, that's what March Madness is all about. Yeah, but not in the mid majors. It's a lot more fun when we see that kind of stuff in the power conferences. Okay, so here we go. Just by the way, before we get to Saturday's games, tonight there are 2 big games. Told you the Miami game. They were a 5-point favorite at Ohio, and then the Big 12 matchup, Central Florida at West Virginia. Really big game. Most people have Central Florida in. They're a lock, and that just shows you right there exactly what I was just saying. Because Central Florida is not playing good ball. They just lost in overtime to Oklahoma State and just lost before that to Baylor. Both games were at home. You've got to be kidding me. You lost to 2 barely above average teams in the Big 12, back-to-back at home, when you should be a bubble team. But no, they're a lock. We are going to have fun with the bracket. I'm telling you right now, Monday night, we do the show, the night after the conference tournament, Selection City. It's a selection show. And I just can't wait. I've never been more excited about looking at a bracket because of handicapping before. Normally, I'm just excited because I'm looking at fun things like Cinderellas and sure, you make your picks and all that, and everybody's gonna have a contest that you're gonna enter, stuff like that. But for real, like, hey, because which teams are the phonies and which teams really look the part now. And I think that's going to make for a good first week. So counting on it. West Virginia is a 4-point favorite in this one. Keep in mind that Jermichael Stillwell, one of their best players, is questionable. So you definitely keep an eye on that. And for West Virginia, they did beat Central Florida already. They did it a few weeks ago as a 3-point road dog. So they're looking for the sweep. And West Virginia needs the sweep. Look, I still think Central Florida needs to play games. You're telling me Central Florida could lose their last 4 games and they're just going to be in the tournament? I mean, I all right, whatever. So West Virginia, though, they definitely have to get the win. Keep in mind, beginning of the season, there was a lot of hope at West Virginia. Hodge came over from North Texas, good coach. So there was, a lot of expectations for the season. And they've had a decent run, but unfortunately, lately, it hasn't gone their way. Yeah, they had a nice win against BYU, but now everybody's beating BYU. They've dropped 4 of the last 5, and they also lost at home to Utah. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Another bubble team that may or may not get into the tournament, and they just lost to Utah. All right. They also lost to Kansas State and Oklahoma State. So this is during this 4 out of 5 stretch. Come on. So, yeah, I don't know which way to go because Central Florida is the better team, but West Virginia needs it more, so I'll stay away. All right, so let's go into Saturday's games. And as you can see at the top of the board right there, that is going to be my top play of the day because I'm going to go with a team that I know absolutely needs it against a team that absolutely doesn't. And the only thing that this matters is, which, it matters, and that's rivalry. It's Virginia Tech, plus Virginia Tech already beat Virginia earlier this year. But I'm still going to stick with the Hokies because of the fact that they really need this game. And and check this out too. I think beating Virginia already is a good sign. Hey, we could beat them. We've already done it. And check this out too. The dog in the series, the last 3 times these 2 teams have played, twice last year, once this year, 3-0, straight up. All right. So the Hokies are looking to go 4-0 in this rivalry with the dog winning the game outright. And that was in overtime on New Year's. And Virginia Tech was a 5-point home dog at the time. Virginia followed up their 26-point blowout, embarrassing performance against Duke by only beating Wake Forest by 5 at home on Tuesday. Big point spread. I'll definitely put money on the money line too. And that's what we're talking about here. I mean, this is 10 points. So I don't have to win the game. I just have to make sure that Virginia Tech is going to go in there and compete. None of this is guaranteed, of course, with the way this season has gone. You just don't know what's going on. I mean, I've said this several times now in the past week, and I really mean it. When it comes to when it comes to the tournament, there's only going to be 3 teams as of now, unless one of the 3 loses between now and Selection Sunday. The 3 teams that I'm just going to take every time they play is Florida, Michigan, Duke. Okay. Next up, we have our 7th pick, and that is Missouri. Another one of these teams that, you just can't figure them out. But you remember, if you were watching the show a few months ago, I talked about how I like Missouri. I think they're a nice sleeper team. And they were a team I was definitely going to be looking forward to following. And then they had a bad stretch, but they've done much better lately. Of course, they've had some bad losses, but they all do. And look, they've beaten Florida and Vandy, 2 of the better teams in the SEC. And they followed up a big win against Tennessee by getting destroyed at Oklahoma. I mean, come on. So why would I want them? Well, I don't really trust Arkansas. Arkansas has already lost at Georgia, at Auburn. They lost to Kentucky at home. So they're fallible. They got 8 losses. So I definitely think Missouri, because they're on the bubble and they need a win and they're at home. They were able to look, they were on the bubble before the Mississippi State game last Saturday, and they came through with flying colors. And so, look, their backs are against the wall in a little bit again. I still think they're in, but this is one of those you win and you're in kind of scenarios before the SEC tournament. They did cover by a 0.5 point at Arkansas early February. when they lost the first matchup. Okay. A game I also have now let's go to 2:00. A game I have that I'm not picking, but man, this might be the best bubble game of the day. That is Cincinnati and TCU. So Cincinnati has won 6 out of 7. TCU has won 7 out of 8. Now TCU is in 6th. Cincinnati is in 8th. And TCU is in right now. And I really am going to find it hard to believe where they are. They're playing a hot Cincinnati team. Then they've got the tournament. I'm finding it hard to believe that they won't get in even if they lose these next 2 games. I think they've done more than enough. They already won an early preseason tournament, beating both Wisconsin and Florida, and then only lost to Michigan by like 5 points or something like that early in the season when everybody else was getting blown out. And now they've won 7 out of 8. They've covered 6 out of 7. They just beat Texas Tech on Tuesday on the road after Texas Tech was hot. And they also have a win in the Big 12 against Iowa State. Another good win. So that's why they have to be in. But again, they're still considered a bubble team. Cincinnati is like considered one of those first 4 out or first 8 out teams because they've kind of come out of nowhere with this streak. Because before the streak, they were sitting at 11-12. Okay, so nobody was looking at Cincinnati several weeks ago. Now all of a sudden, they've won 6 out of 7. They got the win over BYU on Tuesday, which everybody's beating BYU, and they beat them by 22. That's the thing that's catching everybody's eyes is the blowouts. They blew out BYU. They blew out Kansas by 16 at Kansas. They blew out Central Florida by 20. They also beat Iowa State on their ledger. And Wes Miller, who's been there for a while, before the season began, people thought this was his best team. Well, and this is also something that we have talked about for the last couple of months, and we'll keep talking about it, is that this is why I'm saying that it's going to be really important to look at. See, I don't like the fact that we tend to look too early, like at the way the season's gone, and just like, oh yeah, well, because they played so well early in the season, and they've got a really good record now that, they're in or they're really good, stuff like that. But while other teams, like in Boise State, and you're seeing the same thing here with Cincinnati and TCU, while these teams, so for instance, what happens if it was flipped? And this was going on 2 months ago. Well, TCU would be firmly in, and Cincinnati would be firmly in, and Colorado State and Boise State would be at the top of the mountain. See what I'm saying? So, but I'm okay with all that. My point is that I think this is going to be good handicapping wise because we're going to be able to go into the tournament, and hopefully as many of these teams will get in, because what I want to see are hot teams, hot mediocre teams against cold mediocre teams. And I'll take the hot mediocre team every day. So, but this one, you got 2 hot mediocre teams. And that's why it's going to be really hard to pick. I can't pick this one. TCU is a 2.5 point favorite at home. Again, I do believe they're in, and Cincinnati has work to do. So look, if Cincinnati wins this game, if you're somebody who wants to see both of these 2 teams in like I do, then I'm rooting for Cincinnati. So, but that's not a way to handicap. So that's why I'm not touching the game. Now, also at 2:00, one of my top plays is another hot team that is not going to go to the tournament. I guess there is no way. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't even see them going to, if they're in the championship game of the ACC, that they'd get in. They're going to have to win the ACC championship, and that's not going to happen because you're not going to beat Duke. But Florida State is red hot. They've won 8 out of 10. And this is what you're going to get. This is another one of these teams with a new coach, a completely new team. And these guys have just started to play their best ball together now. If you look at it, their only losses were against Miami and Virginia. They just lost to Virginia by 3. That's a really good competitive loss. They've also got wins against Clemson, Virginia Tech on the road. So they're pretty decent wins there too. They got a new coach, who is a former player, a Leonard Hamilton disciple. And I really think there's some good things ahead for Florida State basketball. I really do. And maybe this is the beginning. Maybe we'll see Florida State do something really interesting here. And I believe in them. I really do against SMU, because SMU is playing like crap. Now, they don't have BJ Edwards, and he's been out for a little bit, a couple games, and he's one of their top players. But they have 5 players in double figures, and he's one of them. So, you should be able to not use that as an excuse, especially against the teams you've already lost to. You've lost 3 straight, and you're 7-9 in the last 16. Okay, this team is on the bubble, and they shouldn't even be. I would rather see. This is what I'm saying. If Florida State beats SMU on Saturday, I feel Florida State is the better team. Absolutely, I think they're the better team. And so if that's the case, and Florida State has a decent enough record, then don't tell me SMU's on the bubble and Florida State's not. Don't do that. But of course, Florida State, and I know that's the case, but Florida State has to win this game for that to happen. And I'm going to go with them to do that. I really am. SMU's got to turn things around now, or they are in big trouble. Okay. Also at 2:00, let's stick in the ACC, and we have Stanford, one of our picks. Now, the only reason I can't look at this as like a top pick is because Stanford, you're talking about West Coast, East Coast. That's not very easy. It's the first time they're feeling that out this year. At least they've already been on the road. They went to Notre Dame first, won that, a little bit further east now. So I think that helps. But Stanford is a bubble team, and so is North Carolina State. NC State, a couple of weeks ago, was in. They were in. NC State's going to go to the tournament. And now all of a sudden they've lost 3 straight and 5 of 6. And they lost at Notre Dame. Check this out. They've lost 3 of 5 by 99 total points. They have been annihilated in 3 of their 5 losses that I mentioned, the 5 out of 6. This is the same thing that I just was talking about with, say, FSU. But Stanford is in better shape because Stanford is a true bubble team. So if Stanford can beat North Carolina State on Saturday, Stanford is clearly ahead of NC State. And they're both not getting in. And Stanford still might not even get in. Now, NC State can do it just like SMU. They can right the ship, win your game, move on, and put yourself back on comfortable grounds and maybe get some confidence, et cetera, et cetera. But look, I've talked about this freshman, Okari, for Stanford all season. He's a dynamic kid. I'm a big Kyle Smith fan. And Stanford is playing good ball. They've won 3 straight, including the SMU win. Look, they would be in better shape right now, Stanford, had their second best player not gotten hurt in early January. And I kind of felt when that happened, that was it. There's just no chance. And yet Kyle Smith's been able to will this team and Okari to this position. They could still get in. And so this is going to be a tough one on the road, East Coast, ACC, but I'm getting 7 and I'm willing to take that. A little bit later, 4:00, we have a couple of Mountain West games. One of them is regarding the 2 teams I have on the future board before, Boise State at Colorado State. I don't have a line on this now, but I wasn't going to take it anyway because I can imagine this line is going to be really small. Has to be. And if I'm just going to guess what I think the line should be, I'd say Colorado State 1.5. That's what I'd go. Boise State, another team, gets off to a bad start, as I said, and now they're playing their best ball. They have won 4 straight. They have won 10 out of the last 13. They beat Colorado State already as a 5-point home favorite in early January, beat them by 6. Colorado State's won 8 straight. I was able to take them the other day as a 3-1 money line play at New Mexico for their 8th straight win. Now, look, Medved's gone, and that was one of the reasons it was like, oh, yeah, it's an afterthought. They got off to a slow start. We all forgot about Colorado State. And now all of a sudden, Colorado State is like, it's like they're back. They're completely healthy. They were not healthy earlier in the year. And they have a good coach. The coach that is coaching the program that took over for MedVed can coach, and he's proven it. And that win at New Mexico, and they were blowing out New Mexico at New Mexico. And New Mexico has played good basketball all season. It's not like they've lost 5 out of 6. They've been a solid team all year, and they just went into New Mexico, a bubble team. New Mexico is not an in team; they're a bubble team. And at home, they got beat up by Colorado State, and nobody's talking about Colorado State. Now, maybe they'll be right, and I'll be wrong, but hey, I love the fact that as of today, and I've already done it. As of today, I can go into the books and I can get Colorado State at 16-1 and Boise State at 9 or 10-1, and I can take them both. I just got to hope they don't play each other early, because I don't know, because that's the one thing I don't know what the brackets are going to look like until whatever Monday. So the worst thing, of course, is they play in the quarterfinals together. I'd rather just get me to the semis at least. But I feel good that I can take these two teams that are every bit as capable as Utah State and New Mexico to win the Mountain West. And I got both of them at 10 and 16-1. And because of that, I can get one of them in the championship game. I'm sitting pretty as far as hedging my wager. And I can only hope that they both make the semis and don't play each other. That would be great. Okay. So anyway, I think there are two teams to get excited about, because Boise State was like a preseason favorite. And we've been very disappointed about the way they played this season. And now they're playing their best basketball. And so is Colorado State. And now here's the other one. New Mexico at Utah State. How about that? First versus second. Now, unlike Boise and Colorado State, Utah, who are hot right now, Utah State is 1-3 in their last 4 games, including a 27-point loss at UNLV on Tuesday. 27. Now, look, like I said, I think they should be in, but I am kind of surprised that people have them like as locks, because this conference is so deep. I mean, I just like, what happens if Utah State loses to New Mexico and it loses their first tournament game? And that puts them at 1-5 in their last 6. And then let's say some of these other teams, a couple other teams, are red hot, and you got 2 teams not named Utah State in the Mountain West Championship game. And they both have solid resumes, and they're both red hot. And Utah State's in and one of those teams isn't? That would be so unfair, especially since you're going to be given in like the 9th team from one of these, major conferences that should not be in. Again, we'll take advantage of that. I can't wait, but still, that'd be kind of weak. Utah State is also just 12 and 17 against the spread on the year. That's pretty bad. You can't make any money on this team this year. But look, Jared Calhoun has been excellent in his 2 years at Utah State. He's got a record of 50 and 14. Very impressive. They beat New Mexico as a 1-point road dog in early February by 20. So New Mexico trying to get some revenge here, and that's why I'm taking New Mexico. I've got a good number. Like I said, even though they're coming off probably their worst loss of the year, they're on the bubble. I still think Utah State's on the bubble, but again, I think there might be, the way Utah State's been playing lately, I don't know. Maybe they think they're already in, because just look, a couple of weeks ago, they were 23-2 from the Mountain West. Of course, when they were 23-2 in the Mountain West, they were a lock to be in. But I just think that some people have just decided, well, they're, once a lock, always a lock. I don't know. But New Mexico does have a good non-conference win. They beat VCU. That's another bubble team. Okay. Next. let's go with that George Mason game against St. Louis. And look, this would be really good for George Mason. And I put a few bucks on him, as I said, at 18-1 if they can knock off St. Louis, because they're at home and they just lost a close one at VCU. So if they can knock off St. Louis at home, then hey, again, I feel real good because I don't think they'll be 18-1 then. I'll probably lose half of that if they pull off this upset. Like I said, they haven't been playing their best ball lately, but that's okay. Tony Skinn knows how to coach. All right, he's been there for 2 years. This is his third year. He's 69-29. All right, so George Mason has been a really good team since he's been coaching there. And it's unfortunate because they lost one of their top players in the home opener to start the season. But yet, here they are, and they are still relevant. Their number 4 scorer, Fat Hill, got to like that name. He is averaging a little over 10 points a game. He's questionable. He did not play in the loss to VCU. And they still won that. Excuse me, they still covered that game as a 10-point road dog. And they're 2-0, straight up and against the spread the last 2 years against St. Louis. So they played just once the last 2 years. This will be the third in the last 3. And St. Louis, 3-2 in their last 5. So just a couple of weeks ago, they were 24-1. And they have lost their last 2 road games at Dayton, a good team, and at Rhode Island. Not better than George Mason. So that's why I'm taking George Mason plus the 8. And just so you know, I will take the money line on all of these big ones. Virginia Tech, New Mexico, Stanford, and George Mason. Why not? I don't have this game in here at 5:30, Indiana or Ohio State. This is a really big game, huge bubble game, major bubble game. Some people believe Ohio State's win against Purdue and then their blowout against Penn State says they're in. I mean, I don't know how they're in because they're playing a bubble team that people think might be out. Well, what if the bubble team beats you on your home court? So I think Ohio State will lock themselves into the tournament with a win. But I think Indiana can put themselves in a huge position by beating Ohio State. They have not played this year. So if they beat Ohio State on Ohio State's home court at this time of year, last game regular season, you can't put Ohio State in over Indiana. And Indiana has won 5 straight up and against the spread against Ohio State. Here's a game we are going to take, Texas A&M and LSU. And the thing with LSU is, I think this is I just look at this as LSU is just not a good team right now. When they lost one of their top players, the kid Thomas, they lost him about, over a month ago. And he was like one of the really top players. And they were already not going to make a tournament. They weren't a tournament team. But when they lost him, I mean, I think they've won 2 out of their last 9 or 10. They're playing out the string. And Matt McMahon is clearly on the hot seat. I am going to be shocked if he is coaching this team next year. He can't. There's no way. So he's got to go. Look, I mean, I guess prove me wrong. Upset Texas A&M. Show that you want to play for this coach. But here's the other thing. When we're dealing with today's portal, the whole show, I want to play for my coach. Usually that's like, hey, I've been with the coach for the last 3 years. I've got a foundation. I love the guy. He loves me. We're a family. It's just not the case in college basketball or in college sports anymore. You can't build that type of loyalty, that type of family. I'm not saying, it doesn't happen, but you just compared to years past, it's just, you can't do it. Okay. Texas A&M on the bubble, should be in, can't lose this game. You cannot lose this game. You've just lost your last game. I think, who did they lose to? I don't know. They lost Texas last week. I think they just won but they beat Kentucky on Tuesday. So at least they came back and won that game. So they lost the Texas game, came back to win the Kentucky game, which put them right back in good standing. But you're going to be right back in Troublesville if you lose this game against LSU. That they'll figure this out. They've won 4 straight against LSU, including a win in early January by 3 points. So, yeah, I mean, 2 points at LSU, man. I mean, and these are the really screwed up things about this time of year. In years past, these would be easy. Easy. If you'd have a Texas A&M LSU situation like this, it would be easy. Nowadays, you can't tell because they're a mediocre bubble team. And the mediocre bubble teams can lose anytime in any situation, even if it's a must game against a bad team. And that's why those are really bad, mediocre teams. That'll be in the tournament. Duke and North Carolina. Look, I just taken Duke for 2 reasons. One, they're just killing everybody right now. And I know it's a big spread, but if you look at it, there have been a couple of double-digit spreads in the last just even 10 meetings between these two teams, and the double-digit favorite won both times. Also, North Carolina is done. Same reason Texas Tech is done. I like the energy you see from Texas Tech, but the loss to TCU kind of woke them up, and they'll still be a dangerous team. We'll see what kind of bracket they get, but they're not winning a national championship, and neither is North Carolina. Matter of fact, North Carolina ain't going to go very far at all because Caleb Wilson is officially out. And so, boy, how was that, fans, for North Carolina? You got this Caleb Wilson kid. You know, you spent a whole year or two, whatever, recruiting him, and he comes in. You got all this excitement, and Caleb Wilson, and then Caleb Wilson gets hurt going into the final stretch of the season, and then that's it. Caleb Wilson's gone. He's off to the NBA. I mean, this is what we deal with nowadays, and it really sucks. But, hey, man, NBA knows better, right? They're so popular right now. That's another thing that I've said before. Don't believe anything they say at the NBA about people are watching, because people aren't. Okay. Auburn and Alabama. And I was thinking of taking Alabama in this one, but I don't know how they're going to react after losing their first game after an 8-game win streak. Georgia got a big win, so at least Georgia now is a deserved bubble in because they've had their best wins in the last 2 weeks. So they took care of business where they beat Kentucky, I believe, and then Alabama, so they're in. All right. Look, they're going to be quickly out of the tournament, but they're in. Auburn, meanwhile, we know about Auburn. They've lost 2 out of the last 9. They're 1-9 ATS in the last 10. They're 2 games over 500, and yet they're still on the bubble. The only way that they can be in is they've got to beat Alabama. And if they do that and they win their first SEC tournament game, they're probably going to be in. But Alabama can put the death nail in them on Saturday. They're rivals, which I imagine they will, but it's a lot of points. So I don't want to do that, especially since Alabama can't play defense. And if they do that, then Auburn's going to probably have to make a run to the SEC championship game. But the other game and the last game I am going to take is UCLA. USC is done. They've lost 6 straight. They're 0-5 in the last 5 ATS. That includes a home loss against Oregon and a road loss to Washington by 19. And their best player is gone. He's gone. They lost one of their best players in the first couple weeks of the season. They rebounded, and for this Mazzara kid from Auburn, and they hung in there. Musselman's a good coach, and looks like they're on the bubble, but they're looking okay. And then all of a sudden, Mazzara gets banged up. Then they start losing every game, and then he says, "I'm out of here. I'm off to the pros." UCLA, meanwhile, exact opposite. They've won some big games lately. Yeah, they still have a problem winning road games against good teams, but they can beat bad teams on the road. And that's what USC is right now. They're a bad team. UCLA is coming off a 20-point home win against Nebraska on Tuesday. And they just beat Illinois at home a week prior. This is not a big road game for them. They can walk to USC. They've beaten them 3 straight up and against the spread, including a 19-point win just a few weeks ago as a 6-point home favorite. I only have to give up 3 here, and UCLA is still a bubble team. I think they're in. I think most people believe they are in, but they are still considered a bubble team. And that is going to wrap it up. So if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, please let me know. And also do this. Just listen to this guy. Like, subscribe. That'd be great. I'll see some of you NASCAR guys tomorrow when I come on to do the NASCAR report following practice and qualifying in Phoenix. And then, boy, next week, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got conference tournament play in college basketball. We have another big signature golf event. We have NFL free agency on Monday, which is going to be amazing. And some people think March is kind of dull, except for college basketball. No. There's a lot going on, not just college basketball, but yeah, we're gonna still have fun, and hopefully we'll take advantage of some of these conference tournaments going into the big tournament. I mean, I already feel pretty good because I have big money from earlier in the season, 10-1 Michigan, 14-1 Duke, so I feel really good about that. And but you never know, I guess, right? It's the college basketball tournament, one done, that's it. But not like the old days. The really good teams, they're going to find a way to get to the Final Four. I think we're pretty confident about that. But still, can't wait to see the bracket. That's still a week from Sunday, so we have some time. Let me know again what's on your mind. Any other questions or comments, I'm here. And don't forget to check out the library here at Proline TV. We have lots going on, football as well, tons of interviews from teams that are going to be really busy next week. Still have a little bit of those interviews to go, though. But I'm probably going to take a week off because those guys are going to be really busy and there's going to be a lot of change going on with free agency next week. So we'll get into more interviews, though, real soon. And we'll follow up with NFL draft previews. And we'll have more ammo, too, because we'll have the free agency moves that'll help us out and some trades to put these rosters together. We'll be talking more about the NFL for sure. So keep an eye on that. And much more here on Proline TV. So thanks for tuning in.